And welcome back to Flexible Games, where we are playing Factorio, new series. Well, this one is called DeathWorld. I generated a map, went in and tweaked it a little bit. I wanted to give myself a fighting chance, because if you look, we are absolutely surrounded by enemies. And we don't have a whole lot of space. And I've got the entire suite of Bob's mods loaded. So in order for us to get up to the tech that we need in order to even defend ourselves will take an absolute miracle. I've got, I spent about 20 minutes or so in the game getting our initial tech up a little bit. A lot of my miners are not being fueled. I need to keep my pollution cloud absolutely at its minimum. I have just enough power right now to run these two items and maybe an assembler once we unlock it, because the first thing I'm going to do, I manually crafted 20 red science packs. And those 20 are going to go into automation for 10 and turrets. And walls will come very soon after that, because this is going to be a war keeping all of these enemies at bay, because it only gets worse from here. This might look bad, but it only gets worse as you go further out. I wanted to build that radar early on to show just what's out there. And believe me, there is a sort of end game challenge. I can't be 100% sure how far out it is. It's not here, but it might be if out here a little ways. There is a box going all the way around our area that is a solid wall of biter spawners. And my end game goal is to destroy that perimeter, that barrier to go out. Now, whether we continue with the series after that and continue the war against the biters, that's all up to you. I'll be reading comments. I'll be taking your feedback. Maybe your strategies, if you have an idea for strategies. One thing I mentioned I wanted to give myself a fighting chance. So I gave a little square of each of the Bob's Mods ores up here. Just enough to possibly defend ourselves. And even this is going to be logistically hard to work with, just because there are tons of ores right here, and we have tin on this side. This is kind of a naturally spawning tin vein. But there's not much ore in each one of these. Just 500 for most of these. Galena is a little bit more because we get 2 different ores out of Galena. We get nickel and lead. So Galena is a little bit more, but these other ones should be about 500, and then the crystals are just 50. So there's not many crystals in there for the diamonds that I really want for, good stuff. The other thing you probably need to know about the series is, I believe, I'm going to just verify. I guess I'm going to have to go in the code. I disabled God modules, but for some reason they're still showing up in here. I'm going to have to go into the code and see if there's an error with that. Maybe there's something overriding that, but I don't want to use God modules. I have tweaked a little bit in order to survive this, because I would hate to get so far and then just be stuck into a death loop or something like that. I have changed some of the defensible things. So, you know, like everybody in Bob's Mods, every time I've seen a Bob's Mods playthrough, everybody uses the sniper turrets and they don't use the laser turrets, because the sniper turrets give you more damage. And I would like to transfer or transition into laser turrets eventually. So I sort of buffed up the laser turret damage, only the top tier, the diamond level laser turret. So it's a very good incentive for mining a lot of crystal, because you don't actually get that many diamonds out of the mining process, because it's a ratio based. So, step one is to actually get something defensible. Step two is to automate the process of ammunition delivering to turrets, some sort of perimeter, something to defend ourselves. And step three would be to continue on the path, continue on getting the most tech that we can. I definitely going to want walls and turrets and start, we're going to have multiple layers of defenses as I build out. I'm not restricting, just, unlike my last series where I restricted myself from using belts, I'm not doing that this time. Although I will be using robots, I'm allowing myself to use belts. That build for Bob's was my introduction to Bob's Mods, and it was brutal. So I'm going to be using belts. I'm not sure what sort of system I want to build yet. Just a mess of a spaghetti system, which I really don't want to do, or a main bus system. Now, I did, when I went through the editor, clear out a whole this area right here without any other ores other than the starting ores and my little patches. So when I get to that in the game, when I get to needing more gold or more silver or whatever, I'm going to have to go out and find, patches of that ore around me and fight my way into it and get a stronghold in place for all of my defenses, because I'm going to need a lot of ore for all of the tech that I'm going to be building. So I do want to build a main bus system. However, when you get out here a little bit ways, you can see the spawners already start up. So it won't take long for us to hit the wall of spawners, because that might not seem like a lot, but behind there it's almost solid. I mean, there's a little sparse bases around, but I mean, it's solid all the way back. It looks just like that up here. And then a little further away, again, is that sort of perimeter of just solid spawners. And I kind of planned it, by the time we get out to that level, we'll have gone through so many spawners that the evolution factor will have been maxed at least, and we'll be getting the huge monstrous biters and spitters, which is rather scary. So let's see, I have 10 more. Let's research walls, because I have some stone down here that I can start processing. Again, I'm watching my pollution. If this pollution goes over these spawners, they will start forming attacks, and they will start actively attacking my base. Right now, it's not hitting any spawners, but we are slowly increasing the threat, the evolution factor, just because we are producing pollution. There's no way around that. Any pollution you create adds to that evolution factor. It's just the part that is most important is when that pollution goes over a spawner, that spawner will start kicking out active attacks. So this is kind of a game of, build up, but don't continuously produce one thing or another. We don't want to kind of anger the natives, so to speak. And just for fun, there's a little spot down here. I noticed in the map editor, you could actually place sulfur. So I've got 2 oil things right down here that are nearly impossible to get to because of the biters that are right next door. So I just kind of put that there just to see if it worked, if I could actually mine sulfur and get some that way. Not really any other reason other than to see if it actually works. So yeah, our pollution cloud is getting a little bit bigger with the miners and smelters that we've got going, and I don't want to go too crazy. So this will be kind of a steady but slow paced campaign. Of all the pollution I'm using or all the power I'm using right now, I'm only really using 1 boiler out of this stack. So it's only 6 pollution that's coming out of there. As I add machines, of course, this will start to produce a lot more pollution. So I want to be very, very careful. I need to mine out some coal and route it up and over to here so I don't run out of power. But again, first things first, I want to create a system for making ammo. That is the vital thing right now. Also, to sort of hope to get myself to survive it. Initially in game, I gave myself just some heavy armor, some piercing rounds, and just a handgun. So nothing too extreme as far as what some people might think of as cheating, but I wanted to at least give myself a chance at surviving this, which is why I kind of put these minerals up here. Just it's enough where you can slap 1 miner in the middle and it will just mine that resource. How I process that is yet to be determined. I don't know where I'm going to be processing all that. So for the short term, it will be building up slowly a perimeter around where I'm at, making sure that it's defended, making sure that I'm not going to kind of overreach until I can get defended. And once I get to sort of a catalyst point, a breaking point where I'm able to defend, I'm able to survive, and without too much of a risk of constant death, we're really going to expand at that point. We're talking trains, massive bus upgrades, belt upgrades, stuff like that. But again, Bob's Mods, I'm thinking we're going to need like a system to expand, but sort of branch off and use instead of a linear bus that just extends and extends and extends. I'm going to need a system where I can branch off different subsystems. So, for example, electronics and circuitry. I want to be able to craft all of those, but just the electronics alone would probably go from here all the way over to here or further just for the electronics. And I don't have that much space because we're going to need some advanced electronics to even get up to the techs that we need to in order to survive. And that is a huge issue. Survival is a big issue for me. So I'm going to take all of those. So the mods I'm using, this is kind of an introductory episode. So the mods I'm using the full suite of Bob's mods, slightly tweaked to allow for a little bit more likely survival. I'm also using there's a couple of my own mods that I'm using. One is the Void Chest. The other is the Express Smart Inserters that I made to sort of co-opt Bob's mods. I made a series of inserters. There's probably a tech in here for it. It's not more inserters. It's in here somewhere. I know it is because I've tested it already. But anyway, it uses the Bob's naming convention for inserters. It uses the speed of the Express inserters, and they're also smart, so they can be programmed. They can use filters. They can do a whole lot of stuff, and but they have a large passive draw, and that is there it is. They have a really big passive draw. So, the more you use, the more power these things are going to take, because I figure the large passive draw, they're going to constantly be, looking at or analyzing the items around them. So they're going to need a lot of power. So using Bob's naming convention, you have the standard Express Smart, then you have the Express Close, the Express Smart Long, and then the Far, which is a long but on the inside of a belt. Then you have the Long In Near, or the Long In Near inserter, and then the Standard In Long inserter. So the Long In Near is just like it sounds. It'll pull like a long-handed. It'll pull one block away, but it'll put it right next to the adjacent block. So those are two really handy ones to use, especially when using trains. That's the primary reason, primary use for those that I know of. The other mods that we have the rail tanker mod, just in case I need to shuttle some fluids around. Shouldn't be too bad for that. There's a few other mods that I have loaded. I have the long reach mod that allows me to grab stuff at a distance. It's just a time saver, simply so I don't have to run everywhere and waste time on camera doing that. I have the night vision mod, where when I finally unlock night vision and get that in my power suit, nighttime, you'll be able to see it just fine. Won't be any problems with lights. So, and a few other mods. I have the AutoFill mod. I've never tried it before. I have the upgrade planner mod. I've never used that one before. I'm not using any train mods because the new version of Factorio will have massively overhauled trains, and I don't want the mods I have loaded to interfere with that system at all. Obviously, I have Bob's modules installed. I do want to disable God modules. I don't know why they're in here. They shouldn't be. Other mods I have, I'm not seeing any obvious markers for other mods. I know I have Treefarm installed. Obviously, I have a Treefarm up here. It is the newest version of Treefarm that the author claims is much, much faster. He optimized it. I was looking into doing that, and he beat me to it. So good for him on optimizing Treefarm. I really like Treefarm. It's also a great way of reducing pollution. When you have like a cluster of them, they can really cut down on pollution, which is great. So that will wrap it up for this episode. Leave any comments down below. What do you think about the series? Are you excited for it? Keep track of how many times I die in the series as I sort of venture out and anger the restless biters that are out there. It's going to be very, very difficult. So I look forward to the challenge. So anyway, I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.